Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Quantum Mind Hypnosis, and we are here with the founder, the owner, the mastermind, Eric Hanks, behind all that. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
I am doing well. Thank you so much. Great to see you here face to face. We are live on our podcast as well as live on Zoom for those listeners out there. So I get to make a special face to face connection with Eric, which I think is very important. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please, and your company.
Well, company's name is Quantum Mind Hypnosis, and basically I do hypnosis, hypnotherapy, and I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, and just help people with all sorts of things, you name it, from PTSD to past life regression, smoking, weight loss, all these sort of things. But majority, I would say, is PTSD, anxiety, and past life regression.
Let me ask you this. You're based out of Louisville, Kentucky, right?
Yes.
The website is quantummindhypnosis.com, and you can work with people all over the country. Is that true?
Right. Yes. I've worked with people outside the country as well.
Fantastic. Well, looking forward to getting to know you, and let's find out specifically how this works. I mean, let's just start with COVID, the pandemic, that anxiety, that stress alone, that has done a whirlwind of unfortunate effects on people with their mental health. And there's so many people still suffering. And I know you mentioned PTSD is huge. That's huge, but
Yeah.
regular anxiety, stress, I think we've seen it more amongst the regular, popular, population, right?
I have a lot of doctors. I have a lot of nurses.
Burnout and
yeah, and people who, just felt isolated for so long. People who've gained a ton of weight during COVID. People who started drinking alcohol, which was a big joke in the beginning, and now it doesn't feel like a joke anymore.
Yeah.
And they need to stop. That's what they feel like. Not stop, but at least cut back. So I work with people to stop entirely, and I work with people to just go back to the way things used to be. Where they can drink socially once in a while.
Yeah, of course. And let's talk a little about yourself. What brought you into this field? Could you tell us a little about yourself specifically?
Yeah, started as a kid, my mother telling me stories about hypnotizing. After a hypnosis show came through town, there used to be shows, and she started hypnotizing. Trying to do it. She ordered something through like a comic book. I don't remember what it was, but something like that. Hypnotized somebody and it worked. And I was really interested in that, but I didn't really think much of it until a kid hypnotized me in middle school. And without me knowing, I was being hypnotized even. And his uncle was a hypnotist. I went to the library, started learning about it, didn't do anything with it till college when I had insomnia and night terrors. And I went to the college, clinic, and one said, "You ever been hypnotized?" I said, "No." Got hypnotized, worked immediately. And I've never had a night terror since, didn't have insomnia.
Wow.
I never really got into it. When I was in the military, I used hypnosis to help with sleep deprivation and to help with pain, joint pain, things like that, from the stress on the body and sleep deprivation. And then when I got out, I went to hypnosis school and got certified through the National Guild of Hypnotists and started hypnotizing people. Did that pretty steadily for about 3.5 years, then did it between, teaching school. I was a school teacher, high school teacher for like 11 years. And then, COVID happened. I got out of teaching to do this full time in 2020, right before COVID. And COVID happened and kind of thought it was going to shut everything down and ruin it.
Yeah.
But then I went online and now I'm seeing, I have over 100 appointments a month. I'm booked into April.
Wow.
And things are going fantastic. And I'm helping people, so much, changing lives. And I'm not like bragging or anything like that. They tell me that.
Wow.
And I'm able to just reach out to more people because of the internet. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Kind of a Luddite or whatever you want to call it before. And now I'm just having to learn. I've got my nephew helping me.
That's great. Well, I heard that hypnosis can help with like 145 different things, right? I mean, it can help from everything. So that's amazing. So you actually experienced it and that's how you learned about it. That's good to know. What would you say to the naysayers out there? Some people think it's, they see stage, hypnosis
Yeah.
and they
I
get
mean,
confused.
it just simply is. Here's the thing I tell people, look, hypnosis is something you're in all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You're in it all the time. It's a focused state of awareness. So when you're working on something, usually people get the same thing when they go to a hypnotist. The hypnotists have the same kind of pattern, and they say, you're driving, you turn left, you turn right, you stop at the stop sign, you stop at the stoplight, and you get where you're going, and you realize you were daydreaming or something. You pop out, and you're like, how did I get here? That's called driving hypnosis or highway hypnosis. But I've got one too, where I tell people, look. It's a focused state of awareness. You're sitting at home, you're working on something, whatever it is, you're working with your hands and your eyes and everything is focused on it.
Yeah.
And then what happens is you get so into it, you lose track of time and you're working on it. And you're like, I need something to finish this. What is that? And then you picture that in your mind. Then you picture, where is that? Oh, I got to go there to that room. I got to get it out of that drawer, whatever. Then you walk through the house, you go to that room, you get there, and then you're like, what did I come in this room for? That's not dementia.
Yeah.
You just popped out of hypnosis because you put yourself into that state when you get into a focused state of awareness. People are in and out of it all the time. They just aren't aware of it, and they're not.
It's kind of like when you drive and you're driving, let's say, to the mall, and all of a sudden you get there and you're like, how the heck did I just spend 15 minutes in the car? I don't remember making a single turn. And here you are.
Because in your analytical mind, you're turning over things, solving problems, thinking about your ex, thinking about your relationship right now, or what you're going to do, when you meet someone at the mall. I'm going to say this, they're going to say that. All these things are going on, or you're fantasizing or daydreaming, whatever.
Wow.
When you get into a movie or watch a play and you're just in it, when you're watching people playing sports and you're so into it, you're like, oh, and you're moving with them.
Yeah.
You are in a state of focused awareness that is hypnotic. And so all hypnotists are, we just help you by guiding you into that state that's so normal anyway.
Mm-hmm. You just have to be willing to accept it, right? That's the one thing you ask from someone. You have to be willing to go through it. Okay, good.
It's not magic. Mm-hmm. It's just a state we're normally in and out of anyway. We're just guiding someone into it, helping to deepen it, and then making it useful to help.
Can it also help people lose weight? Cease alcohol, drug addictions? Can you talk about that?
The one like 10 minutes ago that I just got off with. I do hypnotic gastric band adjustment, that was the adjustment, but I do hypnotic gastric band weight loss hypnosis. Mm-hmm. And the way I do it, I take the first appointment. I always say, we need to do multiple appointments. The first one is training day. With my people, I want to get you to a level of depth and hypnosis that everything seems so real to you. And then I take them on a cruise ship and they're really there. They feel like they can smell it. They can taste the food. They're sitting in there watching the show up on the stage in the cruise ship, eating, talking to the doctors about their procedure on the island they're going to. And then when we get to the island, that's the next session. We go to the island. I shouldn't be telling all this stuff because everybody's going to do what I do. But then we go to the island, and then I take them through more very, very powerful sensory experiences where they feel like they're there. And, somebody needs their metabolism to be faster. I take them into a hummingbird on the island, and we go into this hummingbird, and I'm like, when you're in, and I'm like, what's that feel like? Oh man, it's so fast. Everything's so fast. The heart beating fast, the breathing's fast. Feel that, and let that move through you, and take that back with you. Because I tell everybody, you're in an orb. You're like an invisible consciousness, and you're going to take all back with you to that body consciousness and integrate it with that body consciousness when we go back at the end of this session. And things like that. I give them these super sensory experiences, and then we go we're on the island, go to the clinic. They get the gastric band fitted hypnotically. They get to see the whole thing by moving that consciousness, that awareness into the body and watching. And this isn't just in that hypnosis. I'll have people, watching their own body lying in that bed where I'm hypnotizing them. What do you see? Oh, and they'll have them rise up out of their body and look at themselves while they're laying there in hypnosis. And then I also I love the movie Inception. I was like, that gives me ideas. And so I watched the movie Inception. And so I take you into hypnosis. Then I take you to the island, to a lounge chair under some shady palms. And then I say, now we're going to go into hypnosis again. And I take them deeper. And then from there, we'll go to a lake. I'll have them walk across the lake to this, they walk on the water. They feel it. It's cool. No sacrilegious stuff there or anything. It's just, it's cool to walk on water.
Now, is this what you're calling training day? Is this what training day is?
I use a little bit of this in every one.
Okay.
But during training day, yes. And I take them from one thing into another thing, deeper and deeper and deeper. And they keep going into a new hypnosis. I'll walk them into a cabin, and they've already gone down twice into like a new hypnosis from the place they were at the next time. Then they go into the cabin. I say, find a place to lie down. They lie down in the bed in the cabin, look up at the ceiling. You'll see the grain of the wood, the knot holes. You see anything up there you can focus on? It's always a knot hole.
Wow.
Great. Focus on that. And what I'm teaching them is how to keep going in on their own so that they don't need a hypnotist later.
Wow.
Like under the shady palm trees, I'll say, look at the sunlight shining through that one break in the palm fronds, that little spot that's really bright there with the rays coming through. Focus on that. And then when your eyes start getting heavy, and they're already in hypnosis, they're lying in a lounge chair in another, dimension or whatever you want to call it, going into hypnosis a second time on their own. I'm guiding them. Now focus on that. When your eyes get heavy, start focusing on a place halfway between. When they get heavy enough again that you want to close them, don't do that. Bring it to a place right here. Then when they get too heavy, just close them, and then we're going to go into it again. And we just keep doing that. And they go deeper and deeper and deeper until they can smell, taste, touch, feel, taste the food, smell everything, and feel the gravity. It's like reminds me of Total Recall.
Yeah.
In a way.
Wow. This is fascinating. My goodness. How did you develop these unique methods? Did you want to dive into a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Because you have the past life regression, the OBE, which you talked a little bit about, the out of body experience,
out-of-body
right? You kind of
experience.
look down, right?
Right. So when I was in the military, I was very competitive. I would go to different countries, doing competitions. I would be in training exercises where I would have to be awake for 3 days at a time with no sleep, not even 10 seconds of sleep. And you hallucinate after 3 days, 4 days, 4 days once. You'll hallucinate. And it breaks your brain. It messes you up. I would fall asleep standing up after that for years. And so anyway, it messed me up. But in my joints and the pain from, a 40-pound, backpack running, over mountains and things like that. So trying to beat everybody else. And so what happened was I was in such pain and I was in a bad state. And I'm like, to the universe, like, what's going on? Please give me a sign. So that day I go into a bookstore and there's a book on hypnosis written by a French commando. I wish I should find it. Maybe somebody listened to this or whatever will know what it is. It was so small, it was like 80 pages or something. I got that book and one next to it that was also like 75 pages on lucid dreaming. I read them that day. That night I had my first lucid dream. I hypnotized myself also. Had my first lucid dream. Next night I had my second lucid dream. The third night I had my first past life regression that was spontaneous. I was in a young woman, about 17 to 19, somewhere in that age range, who lived with a woman in her 40s in some hut made out of mammoth bones or something. It wasn't something. It was definitely mammoth bones made out of but there were no mammoths anywhere. They'd been gone for a while already by this time or something. I didn't see them anywhere, but and I was everywhere. I mean, I'll tell you how that happened. So one night I was in this woman or young girl, whatever you want to call it, young lady, for like 2 weeks. And one night I come into it. Oh, and by the way, I never had a dream with this body and face again for 21 years.
Wow.
Always someone else some other time. And so I go into the dream, and the two women were having sex, and I popped out because I was like, oh,
Oh.
I am a prudish
Mhm.
person, the way I was raised. I popped out. I'm like, oh, and I was like, it was an out of body experience, sort of, but I was in another place at
Realm.
time.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
But I could feel everything. When I was her, I could feel everything. Smell, taste, touch. It was there, you know. And when I popped out, I realized I was in the fire, and the fire's moving through me, but it wasn't burning me or anything. And I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. So I go out through the flap, whatever, the smoke flap. I start moving around, and then I was like, I came back. I'm like, if I can pop out of her, I can pop into her. So I did. If I can pop out of her and into her, I can pop into the other
Uh-huh.
one. So I did. And then no matter who I was, when it was, wherever, I started doing that all the time because I would just get bored.
Yeah.
I'd be in the same people for days at a time, maybe a week at a time. And I would get really bored, to be honest. And I was
Hmm.
curious. And plus I was like, well, let me find out, what other stuff's going on around here. Can I read anything? And that's what I do with people now. I had one the other day, um, where a woman I was working with in past life regression, she was an adopted Asian boy in elementary school,
Okay.
right? And so I have her. I took her through training day already, and so I'm like, okay, pop out. Let's go up there, read the names on the roster. What's the name of the teacher? Then I said, go out, the outside. You don't have to go through a window or a door. You can just go out through the walls or this, whatever. Go to the front of the school. Tell me the name of the school. Wrote it all down. Okay, now I said, go up. All right, now look down at the town. How big is it? Oh, it's a small town, very small. So you see a main street coming and going? Yeah. I said, go to the outside of the town on the main street and come back in and read the name of the town on the sign. All little
Yeah.
towns have signs. I wrote it down.
Oh,
All right.
wow.
Now, things go forward. He gets a letter to go to Vietnam. Read the letter, write stuff down. Who's he married to? What are his kids' names? We get all of that stuff. And they pick up the thoughts and things of these people as well. And then he's on the train going to Vietnam. The person who I'm hypnotizing is crying.
Wow.
People do all the time. And but it's not stressing. It's not. There's no
Yeah.
anxiety, fear in that form. You can't really feel it. You just feel compassion, love, curiosity, those things. So then we're with him in Vietnam a little bit. He gets injured right away, comes right back very quickly. Um, and he's fine. He was in a wheelchair for a little while, whatever. None of that matters right now. The cool stuff is the hospitals he was in, the charts. Whenever read the chart the doctor's got, all these kind of things. What hospital is it? Go outside, read the name of the hospital. So then I have my nephew. Oh, and the hospital he died in as well. Then I have my nephew research it, just out of curiosity, because he's helping me out and
Yeah.
trying to show him like this stuff is there's a lot of verifiable stuff. It happens all the time. I don't even look it up anymore. I
Yeah.
just tell the person, if you want to look it up, go look it up. He looks it up. It all clustered to the same place in the United States, totally different part of the United States than this person was from that I was hypnotizing, down in
Wow.
Texas. Yeah, right outside San Antonio. This one little spot, like this little town. What's the name of the town? I can't remember. Smithson or something. I don't
That's
know.
okay.
But
Hi.
all that stuff. The school, the elementary, the hospital, everything right there. This is all the time this happens. Just like remote viewing. If you heard of that, remote viewing, astral travel, out of body experiences. You can call it time travel if you want in some way. And past life regressions, all the same thing. Just all the same thing. It's just like whenever I figured out that fractions, rational, ratios, fractions, decimals, proportions, and all that are all the same thing.
Yeah.
These are all just the same thing.
Wow. Wow, this is amazing work you do. It's so powerful. It's so healing. And clearly it helps so many people. My goodness. Let me also ask you,
Oh,
you mentioned a little bit the flip the switch to the ascend. And
oh, yeah.
I don't know if you want to add more to that. I'm sorry. I know
Yeah.
we're kind of out of
Like
order with the notes, but it's coming
people
in.
ask me, they're like, people ask me like, how does it work? You
Hmm.
know? And anybody, I mean, there's a guy, a Dr. David Spiegel, that guy, he might know more, way more, he knows way more than I do about how stuff works. I don't know how it works. I mean, I tell people like, if and I don't think anybody really does right now. If you say, if somebody says they know how anything, what's, what the universe is really like, or they know it, I wouldn't listen to them. I don't think anybody knows anything. I say, just like electricity, I don't know how electricity works,
And
but I know how to
I,
flip the switch,
yeah,
right? It's the same thing. So I'm like, well, I don't know how this exactly works, but I know how to flip the switch
yeah,
and help people to ascend by just flipping that switch and helping them to level up. And people do. They're always like, you should read, I mean, my reviews, I'm not, again, bragging, but like, I'm in awe myself. I'm not like
yeah.
a big headed person. I'm just in awe of I'm just in awe of it all the time. Like, that people who were so down and suicidal and had
Oh,
all these issues are doing so well that some of them are, asking me how they can be a hypnotist, so they can help other people to feel like they do. I help
wow.
people to create their own state and then maintain that state. And so I'll have I have one package that I have where it's like a really, it goes through a whole year, and it's like 20 sessions, and then I will put them close together in the beginning, like baby steps, so that they have me with them, and don't have to go too far without. And I teach them how to do this themselves and go longer periods of time and longer periods of time until we're going a month apart, you know, at the end. And so that they can show how, practice maintaining their own state for longer and longer periods of time and staying in
Yeah.
these positive states that make
Wow.
me sick.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
Wow. So why do you consider it really a survival skill, would you say?
well, it's a survival skill.
Yeah.
Like, look, if there's an apocalypse and you know how to stop pain,
Ah,
if somebody's harmed, if you know how to stop the bleeding, stop pain, help somebody, like that, like it's a survival skill. If you
yeah.
know if you're confined in some sort of confinement and you know how to escape in your mind and have a vacation, you know, and you could be in shackles in your body and you could still maintain a positive state.
Yeah.
Right. And then plus, when I take people, through these experiences, and I've been through them somewhat many times myself, you realize there's nothing to worry about. Stress is a killer, right? There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to be anxious about, because if something happens to this, you're
Yeah.
always going to be okay.
You're right.
You're still going to be okay. That part of you that always was, is, and will be is always going to be okay. That's why when I take them back, I'm like, notice that you can't feel fear, even when something horrible happens. I took this one person back, and they were being tortured, like Jeffrey Dahmer style stuff,
Oh,
you know,
gosh.
horrible stuff, tortured, raped, young 13-year-old Japanese boy after the war by some person who came there to help rebuild and take advantage of the chaos. And she couldn't feel. I've done this with many people who've been in situations like that
Oh,
I've taken
wow.
back. And then they don't feel hate for that other person. They don't feel anxiety or fear or anger or any of that, or even disgust. They're be able to see it objectively, but they will cry because
Hmm.
what you can feel is compassion, a huge amount. And there's a lot of crying when things like this happen.
Yeah.
Compassion and love are huge. That's what they feel. So, I mean, take them back. They feel that. If you can feel like that, nothing can hurt you.
Yeah.
It's a survival skill.
And I mean,
You're gonna be in control.
look what's happening overseas now. I mean, it's been a hard few years. We had the pandemic,
Um,
and now we have this war in Russia, Ukraine, potentially a third world war. I mean, it's just
and
and
I'm not worried about it.
to have these skills, you could
I
cope.
follow it.
Yeah,
I follow it.
but
I
you
can see the
don't.
good.
Uh-huh.
I can see the good where it's
Yeah.
at. I don't choose to like focus on, things and get upset about it. And other people, there's people that are so into the media and the social media that's
Ah,
putting out fear right now that they're putting themselves in their own hell. That's hell when you are always angry and you're always fearful, you know, when you could just be feeling so much better, right? And I help people get there,
yeah.
where to get to that feeling where they're like, wow, there really isn't anything to worry about.
Hmm.
We're more than this.
Absolutely, we are. Now, how does it work? Normally, how many sessions does it take to really start noticing a change? I mean, do you
Well,
recommend, or it's
people,
different for everyone for whatever,
it's different for everyone, but majority of people, first session, they feel better immediately.
amazing.
But it requires this. This is the first sessions for conditioning, and then the rest, reinforcement. And there's a lot of issues. I mean, I've like one here. It's like I'm like, whoa, this is a lot of people. Some people have a lot of issues. It's going to take more than one session, and then we'll talk about what we're going to work on, how that's going to go, and I try to get everybody to put all five. If I do most people do 5 sessions at first. And then just like today, with this one today, she's like, can I do more? And I'm like, yeah, of course. First I said no, and I'm like, I'm just kidding. Of course you can. I have 5-session package, 10-session package, 20-session package. I've got people on subscriptions that are just like regulars. And I'm also a life coach. So I have life coach people as well.
Awesome.
And I use
Wow.
hypnosis.
Great. Now, if someone wants to reach out to you, give us the best form in all forms of contact, please.
That's my nephew. Would say
Hi, nephew.
Instagram is great.
Instagram. Great. What is it
Yeah,
under?
it's quantum_hypnosis. I almost messed that up.
That's okay.
Quantum_mind_hypnosis, my Instagram. A lot of people contact me through there. And I also have like 35,000 people on there.
Wow.
And then I have my website, which is ugly, and he's fixing that.
You're so
I paid somebody
funny.
else to do it. It's ugly. That's quantummindhypnosis.com. But
Perfect.
contact me through that. And my Facebook, whatever that is.
Quantum Mind Hypnosis.
I'll
We'll
do
just
it.
Google you,
There's him.
Eric Heggs. You got it,
Google
nephew.
that. Hey, that's a great idea. Google
And
me.
just curious, why the name Quantum? Can
But a
you?
lot of extensions will come. Oh yeah, so QM. So I had another company called QM LLC for a whole other thing, and it stood for Quartermasters, and I still have that company. It just hasn't been making me much money, and so it stood for Quartermasters, and I'm like, well, dipping back into this really hard
Yes.
now with all these people. I'm going to have to start doing taxes really, differently, focus just on. So I was running it through that in the very beginning when I started doing the online. And I'm like, well, now everybody sees it as QM, so I got to get something that comes up. What's QM? So I'm like, Q quantum, and I'm like, mental, mind, and I'm like, oh, that's perfect because I love quantum physics, quantum
Aw.
mechanics, all of that. What the bleep do we know? That movie's fantastic. I bought every copy whenever the Blockbuster went
Wow.
out, like 30 copies, and just passed them out to everybody I know for free.
Mhm. Wow.
So, and I'm just really into quantum entanglement, that kind of thing. When I hypnotize people, I slip into a trance as well, and I feel like we're connected.
Got it. Well, thank you so much. And I apologize. We're out of time,
Okay.
Mr. Hanks. Pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for today, for enlightening us, and looking forward to the next time we get to do it again. You have a
All right.
great day. And thank you to all of our listeners. We
You.
appreciate you. We'll be right back.
Bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.